Hey guys, what's going on? It's Bacon. Welcome back to another Elestrals video. Today's a bit of a strange one, at least I think it's kind of strange. We're just going to be basically looking through the entirety of Daybreak and talking about what I think the meta is going to be, and also talking about like the current meta and all that. So here we are, we're on the Elestrals Play Network. We have all the cards from Daybreak loaded up. We're just going to take a look at all of these. I gave my initial reactions when they were first revealed. However, now I'm going to actually look to give my reactions now that the cards have been like tested, used, and like I've seen and heard some stuff here and there about what some of these decks are going to actually be able to do, and whether or not I think I'm going to play some of these cards and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get straight on into it. Let's just go ahead, I guess, and start with a specific what's the element? There it is. So let's just start with Earth real quick. We'll get into Solar, because Solar is obviously the big one, but Earth, honestly, I don't really think Earth got too many super amazing like tools. I think Barabib could potentially see some play in like fruit decks, since they just have the ability to draw so much. Why not burn as you're drawing? It's just an idea. I don't think Barabog's going to see any play. I don't really think Barabib's going to really like shift up the metagame, but Bloom is like really not that amazing. Mudlit, Crisbor, Mudslide, none of these cards are super amazing. Boltuga has a potential, I will say. There is a burn deck going around that is looking to play Boltuga because it can search Eruption. And then there are some people playing Vesuvatuga. From what I've seen, it's not very amazing. But Boltuga, just to search Eruption, and also then you're playing Earth, so you can just play Earthquake. It has potential, but for the most part, I don't really think Earth's going to do anything super amazing in this format. With the exception of the Waspivy deck, I do believe that has potential, but we'll get to Waspivy when we actually get into the new Waspivy card. Frost, man, I really hope Frost has potential, but I just don't think it. Frost is currently my favorite element. It's typically my favorite element. I like cold magic. That's sort of like where I go in terms of like magic stuff. But I really just like cold as an element, so Frost just really hit right home with me. And my favorite Elestral probably is Frigicub. There it is. You can kind of see it. But Frigicub, I think, would probably have to be my favorite Elestral, but there's a lot of really interesting tools. So, more Frost, I don't really think got too many interesting tools. I got Bat Form, which is kind of interesting. It's not super amazing. More Frost sort of is already not seeing that much play anymore, so I don't really think it's going to be super amazing. For Frost Nexus, we now have Broomalinx, which is good and bad at the same time. So Broomalinx can Nexus 2 and target a non-stadium room. If it's face up, turn it face down, that rune cannot be cast as long as this Broomalinx is enchanted, and its enchanting spirits are sent to the underworld. So the thing about Broomalinx that's interesting for Frost Nexus is that it is pretty decent back row hate. It's not terrible. It's not super amazing because it doesn't destroy the card. So if they out the Broomalinx, then they can deal with that. They can then go ahead and cast that again. But the thing about Broomalinx is that it also has 5 defense. So 5 defense is not that bad at a Broomalinx, and it's also another Nexuser, which is something that like the deck kind of struggles with. Is that you don't really have a lot of Nexus prowess within Frost until Broomalinx came out, because now we have 3 copies of Frigicub and 3 copies of Broomalinx to get the Nexuses off. The only real issue with Frost Nexus, and this is the thing that plagued it in Frostfall's meta, we don't have a super amazing Receive Elestral. We have Catarant. That's it. That's the only receiver Elestral we have. So, and if you compare it to something like Thunder Nexus, you got Astrabbit, something like Wind Nexus, or Wind Toolbox, I guess, but Wind, just for the sake of it, Wind Nexus, not only do they have Nemisail, they also have P-Gust, which is very amazing. And also their Nexuser also burns, so that's like just even better. The Nexus effects of Frost Nexus are fine, but they're certainly not like Spark It, Exaltair, stuff like that. There's certainly not the power of that. Even Aetheros currently is a better Nexuser card than either Broomalinx or Frigicub is. They have potential, but the issue with the deck also is that it really relies on Mountains of Boreas. And currently, I don't really think, if your deck relies on a Stadium rune, I think you're in a very bad spot because your opponent can very easily out that, assuming they're playing their stadium rooms as well, which right now, almost every single deck in the format kind of is. There are some not, like the 5s deck obviously isn't because they can't play a stadium room. But that's just an issue that Frost Nexus has. So good that it's getting additional Nexus power, but the fact that it's not getting another Receive Elestral, and also the fact that it's not getting like it's still reliant on the stadium room really is making the deck struggle. I really, really like Rhynymph and the Rhinosect. This is such an interesting set of Elestrals that I just absolutely love. This is probably currently, it might be my favorite Ascension line, to be entirely honest. I actually, when I first got into the game, I was a big fan of Spinosect, which no one said that before, but I really was. I actually really like Spinosect because I thought having a 9 defense body that could attack while in defense position honestly wasn't too bad. This is back before we kind of knew what the meta was, so like before first edition, all that came out. So I was a big fan of it. The only issue I have with it was that Spine-Nymph was not good. Spine-Nymph just did not synergize in the slightest with Spinosect, and that was like the big issue. So now we get their Nexus forms, and they synergize so well. Rhynymph just goes in the back row, and Rhinosect can then just special cast stuff in the hand. Unbelievable stuff. Pulsar probably will not be seen any play. I could see it have like potential, but currently the card just isn't super amazing. It can be an interesting big beater, especially if you pair it with stuff like Avalanche and Morolith, but I just don't really see it doing anything. Cryoblast is interesting. So this is a card that is not gonna propel, this probably will not propel Frost to anything spectacular. What it will probably do, though, what Cryoblast is probably going to do, and I'm seeing it a lot recently, is this deck is going to be a pretty decent sideboard option. There are a lot of decks that struggle against this card at just a 1-cost free removal. For example, the 5s deck, I don't think a single one of their cards other than Astrabbit has more than 5. I'm pretty sure Astrabbit is the only 5 defender they play. I might be wrong. It's been a while since I looked at that deck. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the only 5 defender. So this can just very easily out anything that they have, and it's so much better than Earthquake because it's 1 cost. It's not 2 costs. So it's very interesting. There's certainly potential with Cryoblast, but other than that, Frost, unfortunately, won't be super amazing. I see it potentially having like some abilities to go off here and there, but for the most part, until set 4, until we get to set 4 reveals, I don't see Frost doing anything. Moving on to Fire. Fire is also pretty interesting. We already talked about a couple of this, like Vesuvatuga and stuff like that. But Astrabbit is, unfortunately, from what I'm seeing, not that amazing. I really like Astrabbit. I think it has a lot of interesting synergies with some stuff. And I have seen that actually some burn decks are playing Astrabbit as a means to recycle eruptions. But for the most part, I don't think Astrabbit is going to be really played in like the Fire deck. It's not super amazing for that. It's interesting. I honestly don't hate it, but it's not like super interesting. Brontowisp deck I'm sorry, this deck just sucks. It's not particularly good. It's a kind of interesting deck, I will say. It has some like potential to like be decent as the sets go on. But as of right now, I just don't think the Fun God Brontowisp stuff, I don't think it's super amazing. It's super interesting, I will say, but I don't think it's super amazing. Don't Poke the Bear. This is doing nothing for bears. I'm sorry, this is doing absolutely nothing for bears. Humburst, additional mill stuff. Rummikole and the Scavicole. So Scavicole is actually seeing play in that burn deck. There's so many weird cards being seeing play in that burn deck. And the reason Scavicole is seeing play, it searches Eruption, so you have additional Eruption searchers. Rummikole is a deck that I think actually will be seeing play in the Fire deck. At least my current version of Fire, I am playing Rummikole, only 2 copies, but Rummikole honestly is not too bad because it can search your stadium room, meaning you don't have to play Jolton anymore if you were playing Jolton to begin with. But also, the fact that it gets that second effect, that it gets +1 attack for each fire enchanting it as long as Volcanic Forge is enchanted, that basically buffs Volcanic Forge to give this card 2 attack for every fire enchanting it, which is incredibly powerful because this card alone with a Volcanic Forge enchanted is a 4 attacker. If you Nexus 1 onto it with your Kinleo, it puts it up to 6 attack, which isn't too bad. Will it break fire? Absolutely not. But I do think there actually is like some decent potential. Last card on here is Follow the Wisps, which I'm actually playing in my fire deck that I just built. Now I will say, I will show you guys like a lot of the decks that I built. I built 5 so far for Daybreak. And Fire is one of the ones I built. This is currently in my side deck. I don't think it's honestly that amazing, but I kind of really want to test it out because I haven't done a whole lot of Daybreak testing as of yet. So, and my Daybreak has not arrived yet. I also did not, I unfortunately just was not able to actually go to an LGS and pick anything up. But hopefully, okay, this is something I want to say. My Daybreak should be here on 21st. Hopefully it's here on the 21st because UPS is not giving me any tracking info, but I'm in the emails I've been getting, I've been seeing expected arrival date is the 21st, but UPS is not telling me that. I don't know what's going on, but Follow the Wisps. Okay, let's get back to Follow the Wisps. It's a 1-cost counter rune that makes your other Elestrals not be able to be attacked as long as the targeted Elestral is enchanted. So the reason why I think this is kind of interesting is that if you're able to stick at a Lavalith and then activate Follow the Wisp during the battle phase, your opponent now is forced to attack into the Lavalith. It just protects your entire other board, and it's a decent way to like protect a Kinleo. That's the only reason I'm playing this. Is it good? Probably not. But I think it has like some amount of potential, so I'm putting it at least in the sideboard if I'm going up against like an aggressive deck. So that's sort of like the reasoning behind that. Moving on though, let's go on to Lunar. Not that much Lunar, obviously, but let's quickly get into like the couple of Lunar cards that we've seen. Dense Fog, unbelievable card. This card is just going to, it's not going to break the meta game. A lot of decks are actually not even playing this. Most decks that I'm seeing are playing this in the sideboard at the very least. But I don't really think this card is going to break the game. It is another counter rune that honestly is not terrible. As of right now, I don't think it's going to be breaking the game, especially since it cannot stop on cast effects. It can only stop like Nexus effects. So that's sort of like where that issue is. Pandalence, I'm seeing a lot of people say this card's decent. Not amazing, but decent. I'll be honest, I don't see it. I haven't seen this card in action, to be entirely honest. A lot of these cards I haven't seen in action, but I just don't see it. Like, I feel like this card is decent. Yes, don't get me wrong. The fact that you can just recycle a counter rune is very, very good. But can it like break the game? I guess depending on this is a card that like is good if you have a board already built. If you don't have a built board, this card really struggles because you're just wasting your normal cast on ability to grab a counter rune when you could be using your normal cast on something so much better. So that's sort of like where I'm at with Pandalence. I don't see it being super amazing. It could potentially be decently amazing. And then Spectress. So Spectress, this one might be a problem. Something that I really did miss with Spectress when it initially got revealed is the fact that since it suppresses upon entering a battle with an Elestral, this gets over so many of the 5's cards. It gets over Galaxy because you suppress the Galaxy to put its attack back to 2. If you suppress, what else is there? Moss Station? Not Moss. Does it affect Moss Station? It might affect Moss Station. I forget. I actually don't know. No, it does not. Does it? I don't remember. It's been a while since I read Moss Station. I don't remember how its attack buff happens, but Moss Station, the water one, the original crab, it negates that. It will be able to negate that card to put its attack back down to 1. If it's in defense position, then obviously you don't want to do that, but it's honestly not that bad. This card can out so much. The fact that it is essentially just a 5 that just suppresses a guy, which is it is so much better than it sounds. So this card might see a lot of play in this upcoming format, despite the fact that Lunar is not seeing that much play right now. We'll get into the Pharaohgeist stuff once we get to Solar. I'm going to save that for later. Rock in a Hard Place, I'm also going to save when we get to Water. So let's save Rock in a Hard Place. Let's go into Thunder real quick. Not much here. There's only 5 cards here. What do I think is going to be seeing some decent bit of play? Everything but Fulgarius. Now, here's the reason why everything but Fulgarius is going to see play. First of all, Fulgarius, why won't it see play? It gets +2 attack for each Thunder Enchanted Rune in your field. Realistically, this is only going to be good if you go Zeus and Mountains of Boreas, and then that has 6. This card then has 6 attack, and then this card is vulnerable. That makes your entire setup vulnerable to a Lavalith to drop this card down to 4 attack. So it's very, very bad. However, let's talk about everything else. Larvacell will be seeing play in Thunder Nexus specifically. The reason why it's going to be seeing play in Thunder Nexus is because it is now the only Thunder Nexus card that we have since Sparka is now officially banned. Thunder Nexus, technically, as I said in my Thunder Nexus deck profile, you can be playing Circle the Sky. However, the difference between having Circle the Sky and a Sparkit it's unrealistic. Like, Larvacell is even better than a Circle the Sky. Reason being, it's a body. Larvacell and Sparkit are bodies, while Circle the Sky is a one-time thing that you cannot recover. So that is the reason why this card is going to be so much better than than Circle the Sky, is because it's a big not a big body, sorry, but it is a body that technically does have an effect to special extend itself to Anacell. Anacell goes straight into Phosphocell, and this is where Thunder Nexus is going to be pivoting for the late game. I don't think this entire Ascension line is going to break Thunder by any means, but it definitely has some amount of potential to at least get like maybe a top here and there. But the issue with Thunder Nexus now, the Spirit deck is so unbelievably tight. Like, the minimum amount of Solar that you have to play in order to have this entire line go through is 4. You need at the very, very minimum 4 Solar. Which makes it so that with the 2 additional Leviathan that you're going to be playing for the Tsunamis, unless you drop Tsunami, you only have 14 Thunder, which doesn't sound too bad on paper, but Thunder really struggles with keeping a lot of their spirits. You spend spirits in Thunder very, very fast, especially if you do have like that Zeus Ash-Drabbit play. If you go Zeus into Larvacell into an Nexus onto an Ash-Drabbit, that's costing you maybe like 5 spirits to not only cast your Ash-Drabbit, to cast the Larvacell, but also 3 additional ones, give or take a few here and there to cast like your Zeus and stuff. So that's why I don't think this is going to make Thunder Nexus good. Thunder Nexus is like the only deck that received backwards support because they banned their best card, and we didn't get super amazing compensation for that in Daybreak. So Thunder Nexus is probably done. Thunder is probably a dead deck until potentially set 4. We'll see. We do know that set 4 has an additional Nexuser that actually was confirmed has an additional Thunder Nexuser, I should say. That was confirmed in the video where Sparka got banned. So that should be kind of interesting. Arcolith is like the only good Thunder card that we got. Every other, Larvacell, Anacell, Phosphocell, they are fine cards. They will be played in Thunder Nexus, but they will not skyrocket Thunder Nexus. Arcolith, on the other hand, is honestly very, very good. The fact that it's a 6 attacker allows you to get over some bigger guys, and then it also enchants 3 Thunder. It's an amazing card for the late game, and then if you just enchant it, if you just use this to enchant onto an Ash-Drabbit, you can, after that Nexus, you get 2 Ash-Drabbit activations just like that. So that's very, very good. It's the same thing though. Arcolith is not going to make Thunder Nexus good. It's just kind of going to be there. So that's it with Thunder. Talk about Water. Water has some amount of potential, man. Water Nexus could potentially be very, very good. And the entire reason that I'm saying this, there are 8 cards on here. One of them we talked about, Mudslide. It's not going to be very good. But the one card on here that is going to shift the way that Water Nexus, is played. Good old Edward, baby. Let's go. It's Eddie's time to shine. Yeah, unbelievable card. I kind of expected this card was going to see play in water. But this card honestly might see play outside of water, just due to the fact that it's such an amazing card. On cast, change the position of an Elestral. Doesn't sound super amazing, does it? Guess what? This card is unbelievable. This card is absolutely insane. This is probably one of the best cards in Daybreak. Like, I'm not even joking you. Like, just for that effect, this makes it so that the only way you're able to negate this effect is with a Gorgon's Gaze. Dense Fog does not negate this because it's an on-cast effect. This card will activate its effect on cast. If you Dense Fog to suppress it, the effect's already been activated, so the effect's not negated. The reason why Gorgon's Gaze negates it is that Gorgon's Gaze specifically says if its effect is on the chain, negate it. That is what that means. Suppressing means you're negating its effects after... You're negating its effects for the rest of the turn. That's essentially what Dense Fog is doing. But since it's already been activated previously, it's able to activate its effect even if you Dense Fog it. That's a long-winded way of me saying that Eddie can just basically go ahead, pop anything. This is basically just a removal card. It's just a removal spell. That's what this is. Because you just cast it, change something from defense to attack and defense. This can out and Ash Trap it that's in defense because you can just swap it to attack over it, boom, done. It can deal with some big threats. For example, something like a Spectress, it can just deal with that. You run out your Eddie, you swap the Spectress to defense, attack over it, boom, done. Eddie is just such an amazing card. It just gets in, it deals with something, and then that's it. And if you want, you can even play Rock in a Hard Place to go into a Kuribus, which we'll talk about Kuribus in a quick second, but Rock in a Hard Place cannot be chained by counter runes. You target a rune and an Elestral on an opponent's field. Your opponent chooses one of them to destroy. It's just an additional removal spell that honestly, not super amazing. The fact that it's 2 costs does kind of suck, but it's not terrible. Water probably, just the water deck specifically, maybe not in Water Nexus, and maybe not every single water deck will want this. I think this will, however, see play to go into Kuribus because I misread this card when I first reacted to it. Unless I didn't, and I'm just forgetting what... There was a time where I was misremembering what this card did. I thought Kuribus had to disenchant 2 from itself. It does not have to do that. You can disenchant 2 water from your field, anywhere on your field, to destroy a card. And it's non-target destruction. And then also you heal that way. This is an interesting way to not only deal with something, but also heal up yourself. It's kind of a better version of Lockagon now. Will it take over Lockagon? I'm not entirely certain. We'll see. But the fact that it is a 2 cost that can be special cast from the deck as long as you are playing Rock in a Hard Place as well, makes it not too bad. And water decks now are starting to play Poseidon, so there could be a lot of potential for Kuribus to just disenchant 2 for that Poseidon, pop a card, and then maybe next to the last one onto itself and go in for 3. Something like that could potentially happen. So there is a lot of potential with Eddie and Kuribus. The only other cards on here, Porcutide, I was saying this could potentially be like a decent target for, what's it called? Foamy? I'm starting to think not. I don't think this card's going to see that much play, but I do think it has some amount of potential in the late game. This might be teched in as a side deck option in certain situations. I probably don't think it will be. It has a lot of potential in the late game, but I think just the fact that you could potentially draw into it and it's only really good in the late game makes it kind of bad. So that's like the only issue I have with Porcutide. And then there's Chronodile stuff. So as much as I absolutely love the Chronodile deck, I haven't made my version of Chronodile yet. I think this deck is sick. I think this deck is absolutely awesome. And it's a very, very interesting deck. It's a very, very interesting water deck, more specifically. However, this deck struggles with something that a lot of decks currently are struggling with. It struggles against 5s. And the main reason it struggles against 5s, this deck relies on its Divine Runes. 5s can absolutely wreck everything because the threat of a Lavalith, especially in 5s, the reason why I'm speaking specifically about 5s is that 5s doesn't play any Divine Runes. And 5s plays very, very low to the ground, very passive. 5s will probably only have 1 or 2 Elestrals on their field. Maybe not 1 or 2 Elestrals on the field, but if it's like an even match, they might only have 1 or 2 Enchanting Spirits on their field at all times, if not less than that. Chronodial deck requires you to have 6 in order to get Chronodial's targeting protection. That makes you very easy targeting for Resting on Your Laurels. That makes you very easy targeting for Lavalith. And the reason why I'm bringing both of those up is because let's say you do let's say for example you make like Chronodial turn 1 and you have Poseidon in hand, and you have 6 Enchanting, Water, Solar on your field. 3 in the Chronodial, 3 in the Poseidon. Let's just say that as an example. Your opponent could Lavalith the Poseidon, and now since your Chronodial doesn't have any protection, you can then, Resting on Your Laurels, deal with the Chronodial. Actually, with that example, that doesn't work because you would have 3 and 2. So if you Nexus an additional 1 onto the Chronodial, then yes. But it's beside the point. Basically, that is something you can do. The deck struggles against Lavalith. It struggles against Resting on Your Laurels just due to the fact that it requires so many Enchanting Spirits on your side of the field. And it kind of is self-burn. You have a lot of spirits. You do not have a lot of spirits to work with in this deck. If you had more spirits in your spirit deck, maybe this deck would see a little bit more play, but the fact that it really just goes through its spirit deck super, super fast really dooms the Chronodial deck. I think it's super, super interesting, but unless something like Lavalith gets banned, I don't see Chronodial doing a whole lot. And to be entirely honest, Lavalith might be ban worthy. I'm not even kidding. Lavalith, I don't think it's a super unfair card. I don't think it's like as like unfun to play against as something like a Sparkit was. But it is certainly a card that's warping the metagame around it, which is why I don't really see this deck going off. We have one more element until we get into the big kahuna in Solar, and that's Wind. Now, Wind received 4 new cards, and I'm going to be entirely honest. I think all of these cards are bad, with the exception of Toxiswarm. Wind Burn is now a thing. For anyone that does not know how Wind Burn works. So Toxiswarm, for anyone that knows Toxion, it's the exact same effect, except it burns your opponent for 1 when it receives a Wind Spirit rather than a Thunder Spirit. It's exactly Toxion with 1 less defense, I think is basically the only difference. Exaltair is the Wind Nexuser. Exaltair can Nexus onto the Toxiswarm. The Toxiswarm will burn for 1. Exaltair's Nexus effect burns for 2. So just like that, you've burned for 3. Congratulations. And if you set it up in a way where you have why am I going crazy? The Exaltair on your board, and then you cast Toxiswarm, burns them from 1, you Nexus onto it, burn for 2, burn for an additional 1, you burn for 4 in 1 turn. Congratulations. It's unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable that this card actually got printed for Wind. Wind Burn does in fact exist. I've already built my Wind Burn deck because I think it actually is a very interesting deck. Despite the fact that Burn overall isn't a super amazing deck to play against, I do think it's actually kind of interesting because if you are able to prevent them from burning you, they have additional plays. For example, in my deck, I don't know how good this is. It's probably not that good, but I'm actually playing like Draco Doodle. I'm playing that entire line, and the only reason I'm playing it is because why not? I want to test it out. All right, that's the only entire reason. But Burn is potentially going to be a problem in Daybreak. We'll see. Next up, we have Solar, and obviously this is the set of Solar, so we have a million cards. We're not going to be talking about all of this, but we're going to be talking about some of the cool stuff. Celestleo is a deck that could potentially be like the best deck in the format. However, Fives cooks Celestleo. The reason being, this deck kind of relies on something like Apollo. And the fact that Apollo has just like you are almost always going to have at least like 2, 3, upwards of 4 spirits on an Apollo, and you're basically always enchanting this card with 4 so it can stay on the field for as long as possible. If your opponent has a Lavalith in hand, Apollo's gone and you just got basically burned for 4, which makes Celestleo so much harder to go into. And even if you are able to get into Celestleo, they have ways to out the Celestleo, so it's not like super amazing. I expected this deck to be like one of the best, but unfortunately, Celestleo gets cooked by the Fives deck. Corvushen as well is a card that I really slept on when it first got revealed. This is essentially Astrabbit. I don't know why it took me so long to realize this. This is basically Astrabbit. The only difference that your opponent knows, your opponent can see the cards that you foretell. Rather than Astrabbit having it be random, they don't know what card you drew, but it's essentially just Astrabbit with slightly less defense. Some interesting stuff. Cybermaul. So apparently this deck, this Golden Fleece deck, is like fine. Can somebody explain to me how Cybermaul works? Like I'm sorry, I don't understand. Cybermaul does nothing. This card does nothing. Every single time I read it, I'm like, what do you do? It casts Golden Fleece from your deck onto itself. What does that do? Exactly. Golden Fleece, keep in mind, the Empowered Elestral gets plus to defense. Wait, where is it? Is it on here? Right here. It gets plus to defense, and if the Empowered Elestral will be destroyed in battle or by an opponent's card effect, you may destroy this Golden Fleece instead. So it's a 4 attacker that has protection. I don't see how that's super amazing. To me, this card just does nothing. I don't understand. Maybe it's just a way to get the Golden Fleece on field so you can have a card to Nexus off of. Maybe you're not keeping the Golden Fleece on your field. I honestly don't know. Please, somebody explain to me how this works. There's a lot of interesting stuff in here. Glimbat, I don't think this card's super useless, but it's certainly much more useless without Spark in the format. So there is that. Moving on, I pulled a Guardian the Fleece, by the way, out of my my Shattered Stars. I was like, you couldn't have been a First Light. This could have been First Light. Guardian the Fleece is not a good card. Oh, wait a minute. I just realized something. No, I don't think it's super good. I was going to say maybe I could play this in my Waspivy deck. I've built a Waspivy deck, and I'm not playing this card. No, I don't think that's super amazing. But I was maybe thinking the only realistically, the only other card I want to talk about, there's a couple of, it's actually 3 cards in here I want to talk about. Where's it? The Soul Bell Soul Stocks. This is insane. This Ascension line is one of the best Ascension lines that we've gotten. It's unbelievable. Like, you can build your deck. You can just build a Soul Stocks deck, and honestly, it would be like fine. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. The only other stuff that we really want to talk about is Pharaohgeist and Lustragon. Lustragon I'm seeing have some success in places. I'm personally not seeing exactly how this card is super amazing, but I do understand how this card can be absolutely bonkers. Like the Lustragon deck, I think it's just going to be Solar Nexus. I think just Solar Nexus, and Lustragon's like the big guy. Not only is it a 7 attacker that can Nexus 3, if it receives a Solar in a Nexus, target and destroy a card. If you Nexus off its own effect to itself, you get the target and destroy a card. Keep in mind, this is a 1 effect, so it's not once per turn. If you then Jatora onto it, you get to pop an additional card. I did not give this card enough credit. I really did not give this card enough credit. I did not think this card was super amazing. No, this is actually kind of crazy. This card can be really like insane. So that's honestly not bad. Pharaohgeist is currently like the big boss Celestial of Daybreak, in Lunar specifically. But will it be good? Probably not. The only reason I don't think Pharaohgeist is going to see play, there aren't enough Lunars, and that's sort of like to be expected. Could it have potential? Yes. You technically, for a Pharaohgeist deck, technically, you can have your primary element be solar. You eventually search out your copy of Kathmel and then ascend into a Pheromel. Not only do you regen spirits if that happens, the Pheromel then poses a threat that your opponent has to answer before they get into a Pharaohgeist. But I will say something. I did say I didn't put that much time into testing for Daybreak. I did test the Pharaohgeist deck. Not that much, but I did do a little bit of testing. And from my testing, Pheromel reads insane. It really isn't. When an opponent's Celestial declares an attack, expend a Lunar to negate the attack and special ascend this Pheromel to a Pharaohgeist from your hand or deck. Awesome. It's a card that basically prevents your opponent from attacking, or else you go into the big boss. The issue with this is that, yeah, realistically, they could just not attack, and you don't get the Pharaohgeist, which is sort of how the Pharaohgeist deck wants to play. They want to get to the Pharaohgeist so that they can have some insane burn. However, Pheromel, the fact that it relies on your opponent doing something in order for you to get to the Pharaohgeist really hinders the deck and its ability to perform up to standards. You are really in desperation to get into your Pharaohgeist, but Pheromel, there's nothing you can do to accelerate your Pharaohgeist plays. You technically can with like Apollo, for example, since you can add a Solar Celestial Foretold, and then Pharaohgeist is a Solar Celestial, so you can like add it in a normal ascend it. You don't really want a normal ascend Pharaohgeist though, really, do you? I don't really think you do. You could, you really could, but to be entirely honest, this card could very easily this card's very easily outed. From my experience, your board, assuming your opponent does want to attack you, your board is going to end on like Pharaohgeist, and that's it, which makes you susceptible to resting on your laurels. It's already susceptible to Earthquake. Making it susceptible to both of those things makes it super difficult to have this card really do anything. This card can't be shielded. The issue with shield, realistically the one issue with shield though, is the fact that shield is starting to lose favor in a lot of decks. There aren't that many decks playing Shield of Achilles anymore, specifically because of the 5 deck that's getting so powerful. You shield the 5s, who cares? They're just going to bring it back to your field next turn. It negates an attack is what shield does, and for 2, I don't think it's super amazing. So therefore, Pharaohgeist realistically is not super amazing. We'll see what Lunar does. Lunar could potentially do something insane that makes Pharaohgeist incredibly playable, but as of right now, I don't see this deck doing anything in Daybreak. I think it's super interesting, and I will have this deck like built for you guys, because I do kind of want like one deck for every single element. And technically, Lunar's out. We can play a Lunar deck. It's not really Lunar yet, but Pharaohgeist can fit that category kind of well. So that's sort of like my, I've been rambling for so long. I've been recording for nearly 40 minutes. Unbelievable. Next up, I guess let's go into the Omnis. Let's check out the Omnis right here. There aren't that much. We have Argo and we have Poison Tunic for the 2 Omni runes. I'll be entirely honest, both of these cards are good. Both of these cards are very, very good, to be entirely honest. And actually, when Poison Tunic was revealed, in the video, I was thinking, how is this realistically going to propel Waspivy? Like Dan was saying. I was like, I don't really see this deck doing a whole lot. I forgot that Poison Tunic was an artifact, and I also forgot that Argo existed. Argo can cast an artifact from deck. You don't actually need to grab a Poison Tunic. If you do, good. Good for you. You can do that. But this is really going to make Waspivy like a very, very powerful deck. For anyone that does not know, let's actually go over and look at Waspivy. Let's search that right here. Waspivy. Waspivy is an 8/1. When it's destroyed in battle, your opponent must expend 3. And it's also unaffected by opponent's counter runes if it's ascended from Cyanectar, which Cyanectar When a player casts Poison Tipped Arrow, Poison Nectar, or Poison Tunic, you can special ascend the Side Nectar to a Waspivy from your hand or deck. Basically, what this is saying is that if you open Side Nectar in Argo, you can Argo into a Poison Tunic. Poison Tunic, cast it on one of your opponent's Elestrals. You special ascend the Side Nectar to a Waspivy. Since a Waspivy was ascended from a Side Nectar, it's unaffected by counter runes. And your opponent has a card, Poison Tunic, that gives it 2 less attack. And after that, if you destroy it in battle, your opponent has to expend 2. So Poison Tunic really could propel Waspivy forward. And a lot of people are saying that Waspivy is actually a powerhouse deck now. Will it be the best deck in the format? Probably not, because Fives exist, you know. So that's sort of like the issue. But this deck's really, really cool, I will say. We'll get into that. But now let's go ahead and let's look at my decks. Let's look at the decks that I've actually like uploaded. Every single one of these decks, by the way, is public. I've updated a lot of these. Every single one of these is public. I'm building more. So if you guys want Bacon GD, just search. I don't know if you can search a specific player, but I have all my decks on here. I don't know how to exactly like share them, but I will put all these decks. I think I can put them in the description. I don't know. It's been a while. Can I share? I can copy TTS code. I don't know what that means, to be entirely honest. But I should just be able to give you guys the URL in the description, so watch out for that. Let's talk about this just in order of when I made them. So Frost Nexus first. This is my current Frost Nexus deck. Almost immediately after I uploaded my Frost Nexus deck profile, by the way, I updated it, and it was completely out of date. Now I've updated it again. It's even more out of date. This is the deck that I'm currently running, and I tested this deck one time. I didn't see that much success, but again, one-time testing. This deck will not be very good. I will tell you this right now. This deck is not super amazing. One thing that you can see that's missing from this deck is actually Shield of Achilles. I'm not even playing it in the side deck. The Shield of Achilles just isn't a super amazing card anymore, just due to the threat of a 5 stack. However, I do think I should be side decking Shield of Achilles, because if you're going up against a deck, for example, like a Waspivy, well, Waspivy is a bad example because it's unaffected by a Shield of Achilles, but there's a lot of, there are like a lot of decks that kind of struggle against Shield of Achilles. Fives just is not the one, and since Fives is expected to be like the best deck, a lot of my decks are not even playing Shield of Achilles anymore. So that's sort of like why you see that out of here. But I mean, what exactly have I added to the deck? Since the last time I profiled it, quite a bit. Like, I'm now playing Ashdrabbit, I'm now playing Elechick. I was already playing the Joltons before, but I'm now playing the 3rd Mountains of Boreas. I'm really trying to like go in on that. I'm now only playing 2 Ambrosia. I'm also only playing 2 Catarant. And with the dropping a shield, I've included Altar Stars and Resting Your Laurels, and now officially Broomalinx is in here. And if we go down to the side deck, as you can see, Cryoblast is in the side deck. This is my entire side deck right here. Is this a super amazing side deck? Probably not, but it kind of is interesting. My Spirit Math is looking like that, which I think is fair. 4 Zapdos, I'm playing 7 total copies of those cards. I'm playing 3 Narpoon and 3 Tsunami, so 3 Leviathan. I could be playing 4, but I really want to have a 13th Flurmine in there for that reason. Veritaqua is also in the side deck because I'm already playing 3 Leviathan. Technically, I can get away with it if it ever comes up. Lavalids with some Vipyros, and the 3rd Ambrosia, the 3rd PTA, and the 3rd Broomalinx in case I feel like I need more Nexusing power. This is currently what it looks like. Again, I haven't really tested with this deck a whole lot. A lot of this is subject to change, so I will be giving you guys like my actual deck profiles from this a little bit into the future. Give me like maybe 2-3 weeks, and we'll have that. And I actually do have a bit of an announcement at the end of the video regarding 2 to 3 weeks from now, so we'll get into that in just a moment. However, next deck we're going to talk about is my Fire deck. I'm testing a little bit with this. I don't think this is super amazing. I'm testing some stuff. So 3 Kinleo, 3 Comagma, 3 Lavalith, 3 Necro. The one card in here I'm tempted to drop is a Comagma because I honestly still do not believe Comagma is super amazing. It's not terrible, but it's not like the best thing in the world. We're not playing Ashrabbit just because Ashrabbit, You could have a good defensive body, but for the most part, this is a very aggressive deck that I don't think Ash Rabbit really fits into it. We are playing the original Ash Rabbit, though. 2 Small Tugas still there. Ramacole's also made its way into the deck as a means to search your Volcanic Forge. And then basically the only additional thing that we've done is we added 2 copies of Dense Fog. So Dense Fog has made its way into the deck as just an additional counter rune because I have officially dropped Shield of Achilles from this deck as well. The Spirit deck looks like this: 14 Fire, 3 Water, 2 Thunder, and 1 Lunar. The side deck looks a little weird, I will say. I'm already playing 3 Water, so for the exact same reasons, I am playing 3 Veritaqua. However, we're also playing the Follow the Wisps that I talked about. I feel like it has some amount of potential. We're playing the 3rd Dense Fog in case I feel like there's anything there. We're also playing 3 Owloon. The reason why, we're playing Spectrus in the side deck. Why am I playing Spectrus in the side deck in a non-lunar deck? Reason being, Spectrus is just absolutely amazing. This card can cook some of the currently existing water deck, 5 decks. And especially if you're going up against water, this just outs a Galaxy. So it's honestly not too bad. It's a fantastic card. It also outs a Foamy. Spectrus is water's worst nightmare. I will say this right now. Water is fearing Spectrus so much. So that's sort of like what my side deck looks like. Moving a little bit forward, we also have Water Nexus. This is what I just recently found out about, and I'm not super sold on this deck yet, but I'm gonna do some testing. I'll let you guys kind of know how it goes. I am playing the Kuribus stuff just because I think Kuribus is a very interesting card, and it does provide a decent bit of pressure. Obviously, we are playing the 3 Eddies because Eddie is Eddie, and we're now also playing Aetherose in there. The one thing about this deck that I'm kind of not a huge fan of is we're playing 21 Elestrals and only 19 runes. I kind of like playing more runes than Elestrals, but that's totally fine. If I were to drop anything, I would drop Kuribus and Rock in a Hard Place for PTA and Altar and probably 2 copies of Shield. That is probably what I would do. Maybe some Dense Fog in there as well, but for the most part, I think this is totally fine. We still have some decent removal in the form of Earthquake. We're now obviously playing the 2 copies of Poseidon. Some decent stuff, and just another means. Aetherose, draw a bunch, get a Kuribus out, potentially just go in for a big lethal push. My Spirit deck is looking a little weird though. 12, 4, 4. So I feel like 4 was necessary to fit the Eletrix and the Ash Rabbits, and the 4 Terratlas was necessary to fit 3 Earthquake. The one potential change I might make is drop a Zaptor for a Leviathan. That's the only potential change that I could potentially see myself making. I'm saying the word potential a lot. I don't know what I'm talking about. And then for the side deck, I have the Lockguns in here in the side deck, just in case I need to play a little bit more of a passive kind of deck. Veritaqua in here because we are obviously in water. The Lava List of Vipauros, and just in case I feel like I need additional removal, there is additional copies of Resting on Your Laurels right there on the side. So that's sort of what my Water Nexus deck is looking like. Next up is my Wind Burn deck. Wind Burn, 23 Elestrals. Is this deck good? The answer is certainly not. So I'm testing some stuff out. The 2 Dracodoos, 3 Cockatoodles, 3 Sorlet, 3 Pegas, 3 Exaltair, 2 Nemisail, 3 Toxiswarm. We're also playing 2 Lavalith. We technically could be side decking this card, but I feel like we already have Pegas for some additional rune control. Why not get a big beater and also a good rune control in the form of a Lavalith? I am playing Spectrus. That might be moved to the side deck. It might be dropped completely. I wanted this for another very good pressure card. Sorlet provides a lot of pressure. Realistically, it's like the only one though. Cockatoodle technically can as well, but if you also do go like Dracodoodle into a Spectrus, the Spectrus can go up to like 6, 7, potentially like upwards of 8 attack. It's honestly not too bad. So Spectrus is honestly not that bad in the deck. It's not super amazing, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. The runes are just very simple. AOS Ambrosia, and then all the counter runes. Spirit deck, it's kind of cluttered, I will say. 13, 3, 2, 2. I don't think it's too bad, but I feel like you could definitely improve upon that. And then the side deck, we are playing the 3rd Spectrus, we're playing the 3rd Dense Fog. We have additional copies of Shield of Achilles in this side deck because I feel like this deck can get away with running a lot of counter runes. So if in case I feel like I want additional counter runes, I can just throw in the shields. We're also playing Veritaqua. So for anyone that does not know, I didn't talk about this card, but let's quickly take a look at this. Veritaqua is a 3/1. that says when it enters battle with an attack position Elestral that has equal or fewer enchanting spirits, you can suppress that Elestral and destroy it. And if you do, this Verituka deals no damage to this battle. This is a very interesting card for the reason that Verituka is a very interesting way to out a lot of like one-cost Elestrals. Verituka can get over every single one-cost Elestral. The only thing that I'm not certain about, if Verituka enters battle with a Spectress that has one spirit on it, what happens? Because both of them say suppress the other Elestral, but which one happens first? Or do both suppressions go through so that the Spectress would win just by virtue of having more attack? I honestly don't know. I genuinely do not know, but Verituka is a very, very good way to just deal with some of the bigger Elestrals. For example, if your opponent has like a Moss Station, not a Moss Station, so I keep saying that, Moose Station, Moose Station, let's say Moose Station, why not? If they have a Moose Station out in attack position, you just cast a Verituka. It's like, okay, it doesn't matter whether or not I change its attack in defense because you're just going to deal with it with the Verituka. And there you go. Verituka is just a decent out card. So it depends on the deck, which is why I put it into the side deck. But I feel like it does have potential in this deck in particular. And then that's basically it. We are playing an additional Lycoris as well in the Spirit deck. In case I want to tech in the Verituka, I feel like 13 might be a little low, so I feel like if I want to tech in those Veritukas, tech in the Lycoris as well and drop maybe an Owloon or something like that. This is sort of how the deck is looking right now. Not too bad, but I haven't done a whole lot of testing. We'll see how it actually ends up functioning. And then my Waspivy deck. This one's very interesting. As we take a look, we are running 14 Elestrals and 26 runes. So we'll get into a lot of these picks. There's probably some cards in here that you're like, why are you playing that? And I can already tell which two you're looking at. But let's talk about the Elestrals first. 3-Side Nectar, we need to see it. 2 Equal Links, Rune Control, good stuff. Ramagem can search like all your guys. Viscerus, great offensive pressure. And Waspivy is the name of the game. For the runes, Demeter is mostly just here for an Equal Links target. Earthquake, we're in Earth. We should just be playing Earthquake. PTA, it functions with Saya Nectar. We'll get the Poison Nectar in a second. Poison Tunic, it functions with Saya Nectar. Argo, functions with Saya Nectar. Ambrosia, it's Ambrosia. Gorgon's Gaze, Tsunami, Shield, those are just like your typical counter rune stuff. Shield of Achilles, I could potentially swap out for like a Dense Fog, but I feel like my Spirit Math then would be kind of effed up, so I didn't really, actually maybe it wouldn't be. It could be, potentially. We'll see. The cards that are kind of weird. So, Poison Nectar. Why am I playing Poison Nectar? Well, obviously this supports Saya Nectar, but Poison Nectar, the issue with this card is that Poison Nectar negates an effect that would draw you a card, which there isn't like a whole lot of that in the game as of right now. Clovey is like an example. No one's playing Clovey. Nectar of the Gods, technically, I guess some decks are still playing Nectar of the Gods. Not a whole lot, but some decks are. And then like Jutaya. Those are like the big ones. Jutaya, I don't think it's going to be seeing that much play. Nectar of the Gods, same thing. It could see some amount of play, but I think for the most part it will be lackluster. And I highly doubt like anybody, maybe like Circle the Sky I could potentially see. The reason I'm playing it is just in case I go up against that. If I'm not, side it out. It's as simple as that. Poison Nectar is just here. I also am running like 2 additional Poison Nectar in the side deck because if my opponent is playing something like a fruit deck, Poison Nectar just completely outs them. So I am playing that as a means to actually, like get those plays off. And then let's talk about the other weird card. Why on earth am I playing Golden Fleece? And the reason I'm playing Golden Fleece is that I'm already playing Argo. The reason I'm playing Argo is so I can cast out my Poison Tunic onto my opponent's Elestral to get out my Waspivy. That's the reason we're playing the Argo into the Poison Tunic. However, if I already have a Waspivy on the field, and my opponent, say, tries to Rest in Your Laurels it, Earthquake it, whatever they want to do, and I have a set Argo, I can go, okay, Argo effect, cast Golden Fleece. My Waspivy is now protected by that interruption. So the Golden Fleece will destroy, but not the Waspivy. That's the only reason I'm playing Golden Fleece. Is it good? Probably not, but I really wanted to test it out. I think it has some amount of potential, and that's sort of what the deck's looking like. There's a Spirit deck. The only reason we're playing 2 Vipyro, you obviously do not see any additional fire stuff in here. You don't see like Lavalith or anything. The reason we're playing 2 Vipyro is that if we weren't, we'd be playing 16 Terratlas, which you could do, but if you have 16, you can technically cut some of that. So I put in 2 Vipyro and then threw Lavalith into the side deck with so if I have Lavalith in the side deck and I just have Vipyro normally in my Spirit deck, I don't have to side 2 additional copies of Vipyro. 3 Astrabit in case I feel like I'm in a position where I need to like draw additional cards. For that, we are playing 2 additional Zaptors. We're also playing a 1 Alolan because we are playing 2 Dense Fog in the side deck, and then the additional 2 copies of Poison Nectar. For the most part, I feel like this deck is honestly not that bad. I think this deck is probably the most fun deck that I've seen, but I do have to do a lot more testing. A lot of these decks are going to be updated as time goes on, so do keep in mind that if you are looking to get like sort of an idea as to how a potential one of these decks could be built, save the links and that are going to be in the description. Save the links that will be in the description of this video. I still said that wrong, but who cares? Because I will be updating these as I do a little bit more testing, so keep that in mind. That being said, Daybreak's looking like a really, really nice time. I'm really hoping we maybe get an answer to like the 5s deck, because currently that deck not super interesting, but it's probably the best deck in the format as of right now. Look to Wednesday for a potential Daybreak opening, if not Thursday, if not Friday, and if not then unfortunately I didn't get my Daybreak in time until I go off to college. Speaking of which, for me going off to college, just for the sake of I don't want a potential for my camera to be destroyed, I'm debating leaving my camera in the place you currently see me, which means if I go to college and I don't take the camera, I'm not going to have a face cam for a lot of these videos. So just keep that in mind. It will come back, but I might not have a face cam for a lot of these videos. And potentially, I am getting a new roommate this semester. I don't know how often they're going to be like in the room. If they're in the room a lot, videos might be... I might have a lot less videos. I'll keep you guys updated on like community notes and stuff like that on the channel if that ends up happening. We do have private rooms like in the dorm that I can go to potentially record a video like this. So if that's the case, I can just go ahead and do that. But that is just something that should be noted. So keep that one in mind. So yeah, that's basically it for this video. We hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to slap the like button and subscribe for more. Hope to see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.